This book I just finished, The Stranger by Albert Camus, has completely redefined my understanding of authenticity. You see, if you know anything about Camus, if you've heard about it, his main philosophy is about absurdism and authenticity. Now, this book has to be the quintessential book about authenticity in general and also the philosophy of absurdism. The book follows a character called Meursault. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, it's a French name. And you read it and you see that he's not necessarily like a normal, he's not like he's a very oddball of a person, right? Like he does nothing inherently wrong with him, but you see also something that something's not quite right with him either, right? And you see from the first sentence of the book that he's functioning a bit differently in the head, right? And it's not only you, the reader, that's also seeing this, but also other characters from the book also see that he's a bit of a weirdo. He's nothing wrong with him. They talk to him and he laughs and he makes jokes and he acts like a normal person, but it is clear that underneath there's something going on. Right, and not to spoil the book or anything, because it's literally just this tiny. You can read in like one sitting or two sittings if you're very slow. Like it's super easy to read. The prose is very easy. It's actually a very well written book. Not to spoil it, but there comes a moment when he has to be in the court for something he's done, and that whole scene of him being in the court and people and the jury and everything talking about what he did, it slowly devolves into judging him as a person instead of judging what he actually did. And that's an interesting thing, right? Because this book gives you a very good insight into the mindset of an average. Now, the mindset of an average is that anything that's outside of the norm of the average gets instantly judged, right, as wrong, as something out of the ordinary. And it's like the mass of people are trying to put it down as much as it can, which what happens to Meursault in this book, right? This is a direct reflection of what happens not only in the book but also in the real world as well. When you start becoming authentic, right? When you start this journey or with this process of finally becoming somebody that's authentic, people around you, even the people that you've known for a long time, like friends or family members, will suddenly start to maybe slowly antagonize you, will start to fight back against that new version of you because it is out of the average, it is out of the norm for them, right? Because it's not something that they're used to from you. And you are essentially just a direct reflection of Meursault over here, right? It's something starts to change. It starts to change because now you're not operating as the same person anymore that had many faces, that had different, you know, faces for different people and different contexts, right? Now you're fully authentic. You're trying to be fully yourself. And now suddenly things around you are starting to fall apart, right? Which is the initial process of authenticity. Things around you are starting to fall apart. Your friendships, your friends don't see you much of a friend anymore. They don't talk to you as much anymore. Your family sees you as a weirdo. And, there's this whole process is going on. Maybe you have a romantic partner, like a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and they also start feeling like, oh, this is not you. This is not somebody that they fell in love with. But the thing is, it is not their fault. It is your fault because you had a face, you certain mask that you put on for the societal norms that to play along with the machinery, as is described in the book, the societal machinery at work, right? And anything that deviates from this machinery is being put down. So the initial reaction to your authenticity is a pushback to put you back into that phase, to put you back into that your old version of you, because that's what fits their worldview, their average worldview. But once you break through to that, sometimes, afterwards people start to respect you. They start to see who you are, and then they start to follow you for who you are. Now I'm gonna give you a real world example, right? my cousin was the type of person, obviously, and then the more and more he became authentic and he became more of a person of himself, where he starts to really define who he is, what he wants to do. I saw in real time, months on end and some years at a time, his relationships decline with people that did not really see him as the right fit for their group. And it of course was a difficult process, but in the end, right, as much of a difficult process it was, he managed to finally find the inner peace that he was looking for, because he became his truly authentic self, and he's always redefining that. And that's one of the harsh truths when you become authentic, is that you will go through a lonely chapter for a very long time once you truly hit your authentic self, because you are essentially putting out a new and real face out in the real world that nobody knows. And so you have to kind of rebuild all the stuff that you had in the real world back up. The things that you've been building up with your fake face, or like, inherited face, let's call it that, throughout the years, have suddenly just disappeared, and now you have to rebuild it all back up with your authentic face, which is more difficult because now you're not acceptable to everybody, right? Because not everybody fucks with you now. Now you have to really try and find the people that are with you. But the beauty of that is that once you do hit your full authentic self, the people that really connect with your energy and really connect with who you are have the capacity to create the really meaningful relationships, right? Friendships, family stuff, etc. And that's what is the most important. Once you beat that initial lonely chapter, which can last for a lot, keep going for a long time, you eventually come across people and form relationships with people that nurture your soul and nurture your identity and nurture your inner peace. And that's what it is important about. And this book completely made me think about my own authenticity and how I come across to other people, and how sometimes unapologetically you have to be yourself, even in the face of massive pressure. And this book is about, again, a character that has been pressured his entire life, internally and externally, to be an average person, and eventually he breaks and his real self comes out at the end of the very book, right? Which is a bit too little too late, but it's the message is of course there. So I really suggest you guys read this, but this video isn't specifically about book recommendation, more than it is about a message about authenticity, because I also look back at my time when I was in my early teens, and I was always kind of a recluse, to be honest. I used to never go out of the house, play a lot of video games, socialize only on Discord and online in general. Some of who I'm still friends with today, but generally speaking, even in online spaces, I started to see, or in retrospectively started to see, things that I read in this book. And it's kind of a universal human condition, societal condition, where people don't want you to sway away from something that confirms their average beliefs of what you should be. And that scares them. And that's why when you start becoming your authentic self, that's where all the pressure comes in, because it's not about you specifically, it's about their belief about you. And when you start becoming authentic, you destroy their belief about you, and they don't like that. People don't like their beliefs to be shattered, to be completely changed, switched around. So that's why there's sometimes, in the beginning, there's so much animosity and anger and this defensiveness about you to not change, because it's not about you. And you have to realize that it's not about you, it's about their belief about you. And when you start becoming authentic, their belief about you changes. And that's what scares them the most. because then they, once that from one domino falls, it will force them to reconsider their other beliefs, not only about you but about other people, about themselves. And that's one of the scariest processes and one of the scariest things that a human being can face. And so instead of facing them, they tend to just shun it aside and just keep it low key, just completely ignore it. They rather stay average in comfort than to really explore themselves and truly become who they want to be. Right? In this book, you see plenty examples of that here as well. And from recalling from my life, not only of online friendships and Discord relationships I had, but also in real world, where throughout my university years, when I was a bachelor student, in my late teens, early 20s, I had to wear a lot of masks because I wanted to fit in and I wanted to have a lot of friends, because I was coming out of that stage where I was not a recluse anymore. I wanted to be more extroverted, more going out. So instead of trying to be fully authentic to myself, which was mixed somewhere in there, I put on some masks to really fit into certain kind of friend groups that I wanted to be with, and it was successful. But eventually, when it hit me that I cannot keep this face up for longer anymore, I eventually cut those relationships off. And initially it was very difficult, to be honest. It was very, very difficult. But in the long term, now in retrospective, it was worth it, because now I'm more sure of myself. I have more inner peace. I have less things to worry about and overthink about than I used to before. And that is the biggest gift you can give to yourself by becoming more authentic, right? But before reading this book, I didn't have an idea about that. It's only in retrospective when things came to me like, oh, okay, so this moment reflects the moment that I had back in the day. And so then everything started putting itself into place. And it was just, it was just simply a mind-opening, kind of belief-bending ideas that I got out from this book, and I believe you will get out of it too. I wholeheartedly recommend this. It's a short book. It costs like $5 or something. I'll buy it from a secondhand market, but still, it's worth the read to diversify your ideas and beliefs, which is completely another topic, right? You have to be open to other kind of ideas, because I'm an Orthodox Christian and I believe in Christianity and God. Albert Camus was an atheist, and at the end of the book, there's some kind of a kind of commentary and criticism of Christianity in a certain capacity from the character itself, but by no means it was any offensive. In fact, you have to be able to be open-minded to different philosophies and different ideas for you to really discover who you are and what you believe in. If you cannot handle your beliefs being challenged, you don't actually believe in the thing that you're defending. You're defending the person that is believing that, if that makes sense. So what I'm trying to say is that when you truly believe in something, irrespective of criticism, you will be open-minded to that criticism and then still believe in that anyway. So that was it. And you have to read books, you have to be open-minded, and you have to try to be as authentic as possible. And as I said, the stages of authenticity are more or less pretty linear, but the end result is definitely worth it.